Victoria Blackwood is raising a champagne flute right now, toasting the engagement party that will cement her family's control over a $30 billion pharmaceutical empire. She thinks the trembling young woman wearing her son's ring is just another pawn in her corporate chess game. What she doesn't know is that the modest pendant around my neck isn't sentimental jewelry, it's a recording device that will expose 3 murders and destroy her dynasty. By the time the champagne goes flat, the Blackwood family won't be celebrating a merger, they'll be explaining their crimes to federal prosecutors. If you're watching this video, drop a comment telling me where you're from or what time it is where you are right now. The grand ballroom of the Fairmont Hotel shimmered with crystal chandeliers and polished marble, a cathedral of wealth and deception. 300 guests, pharmaceutical executives, politicians, socialites, swirled around me in designer gowns and tailored suits, their laughter echoing off the vaulted ceiling. The air was thick with expensive perfume and the scent of 10,000 white orchids Victoria had imported from Thailand to project an image of purity. I stood next to Damien, my hand resting lightly on his arm. To everyone watching, we were the perfect couple, the orphaned art curator and the billionaire heir who had given her life meaning again. But beneath my $15,000 silk engagement dress, a wire pressed against my ribcage. Every breath reminded me that I was standing in a room full of predators, and one wrong move would get me killed. "You're shaking, sweetheart," Damien whispered, leaning down to kiss my cheek. His cologne was expensive, his touch gentle, his voice concerned. Everything about him was a masterclass in deception. "Just overwhelmed," I lied, forcing a smile that felt like it might crack my face. "There's so many people here. I want to make a good impression on your mother's business partners." Damien squeezed my hand, his grip just a fraction too tight. "You'll be perfect. Mother has spent weeks planning every detail. All you need to do is smile and look beautiful. After the contracts are signed next week, we can finally relax." Next week, the merger, the $30 billion deal that would consolidate Blackwood Pharmaceuticals with my Uncle Harrison's biotech empire, the deal my sister had died trying to stop. "Next week," I echoed, my voice hollow. "Everything will be different." "Exactly," said Damien, steering me toward a group of board members. "Think about our honeymoon, the Maldives, just the two of us. No business meetings, no family drama, no past to haunt us." No past. He said it so casually, as if he hadn't personally erased part of mine. My stomach twisted with nausea. Across the ballroom, Victoria Blackwood held court near an ice sculpture shaped like the company logo. She wore a blood-red gown and diamonds that probably cost more than most people earned in a lifetime. When our eyes met, she raised her glass in a silent command, "Perform." I touched the pendant at my throat, a small silver locket that housed both a microphone and a transmitter. 3 FBI agents were monitoring every word from a surveillance van 2 blocks away. I was the bait in a trap that had taken 3 months to set, and tonight the jaws would finally close. 4 days ago, my world was completely different. I had been planning my engagement party with genuine excitement, believing I had found love after losing everything. It was Thursday evening, and rain hammered against the windows of my apartment while I sorted through old photographs for the memorial slideshow Victoria had requested. Images of my family to display at the party, a touching tribute to honor the deceased. I had been looking for a specific photo of my sister Maya when I found the envelope. It had been tucked inside an old art history textbook Maya had given me, a hiding place so obvious I had missed it for 18 months. The envelope was thick, cream-colored, with my name written in Maya's distinctive handwriting. "Claire, if you're reading this, something has gone wrong. Everything you need is here. Trust no one from the Blackwood family. I love you. M." My hands trembled as I opened it. Inside was a USB drive and a handwritten letter on legal paper. Maya's words hit me like physical blows. Claire, by the time you find this, I may be dead. I've been investigating Blackwood Pharmaceuticals for 6 months. They've been manufacturing contaminated medication, specifically their pediatric antibiotic line. 42 children have died from liver failure caused by their product. They knew about the contamination 9 months ago and continued production to avoid financial losses. I have proof, internal memos, test results, executive emails acknowledging the deaths. I confronted Victoria Blackwood 3 days ago and gave her 48 hours to issue a recall and turn herself in. She offered me $5 million to destroy the evidence. I refused. If I die before this story publishes, it won't be an accident. The Blackwoods have covered up deaths before. Damien's previous fiancée, Natasha Reynolds, died in a car accident after discovering financial fraud. His college girlfriend, Sophie Chen, committed suicide after threatening to expose his drug addiction. The USB contains everything: corporate documents, witness statements, medical reports. I've made copies and stored them in 3 separate locations. But if they get to me before I can publish, you need to finish what I started. I'm sorry to put this burden on you, but those children deserve justice. Their families deserve truth. Be careful. The Blackwoods are dangerous, and if you're reading this, it means they've already come for me. All my love, Maya. I read the letter 3 times, each word searing itself into my memory. Maya hadn't slipped in the shower at her apartment. She had been murdered, and I had spent the last 18 months sleeping next to the killer's accomplice. Every memory of my relationship with Damien suddenly recalibrated. The way we had accidentally met at a charity auction 6 months after Maya died, a fundraiser for pediatric cancer research, how sickeningly appropriate. The way he had been so understanding about my grief, encouraging me to take time away from Maya's old journalism colleagues because they were dwelling on tragedy. It had all been strategic. They had eliminated Maya, then secured me as leverage over Uncle Harrison, whose biotech company possessed the distribution networks Blackwood Pharmaceuticals desperately needed. I was an asset, a pawn, a means to $30 billion. I grabbed my laptop and inserted the USB drive with shaking hands. The files opened to reveal hundreds of documents, lab reports showing toxic levels of industrial solvent in medication batches, emails from executives calculating that paying wrongful death settlements would be cheaper than a product recall, photos of children who had died, their medical records documenting identical liver failure patterns. 42 children, 42 families destroyed, and the Blackwoods had chosen profit over human life. At the bottom of the file directory was a video. I clicked it. Maya's face filled the screen, recording herself in what looked like a parking garage. She looked exhausted, scared, but determined. This is journalist Maya Chen recording a statement on March 15th at 11:47 p.m. I'm about to meet Victoria Blackwood at her office to give her one final chance to do the right thing. If I don't publish my story by noon tomorrow, it means something has happened to me. I want it on record that Victoria Blackwood offered me $5 million to bury this investigation. Her son Damien called me yesterday threatening legal action. Her daughter Cassandra sent me anonymous messages saying I would regret pursuing this. I'm not backing down. Those children deserve justice. If the Blackwoods silence me, someone needs to finish what I started. The evidence is stored in 3 locations: a safety deposit box at First National Bank, box 892, a USB drive hidden in my apartment, and digital copies on a secure server. Maya looked directly into the camera. If you're watching this, Claire, I'm sorry. I know this will shatter your world, but you're strong, stronger than you know. Finish this for me. For those kids, don't let them win. The video ended. I sat frozen, tears streaming down my face. Maya had known she was going to die. She had left me a roadmap to destroy her killers, and I had been too blind, too grief-stricken, too manipulated to see the truth. I looked at my engagement ring, a 3-carat diamond Damien had presented with a speech about new beginnings and healing. It suddenly felt like a shackle. I wanted to run. I wanted to drive to the FBI field office immediately and hand over everything. But a cold, calculating part of my brain, the part that had inherited Maya's analytical mind, started formulating a different plan. If I went to the authorities now, the Blackwoods would lawyer up immediately. They would claim Maya was mentally unstable, that her evidence was fabricated, that I was a vindictive ex-fiancé making false accusations. With their resources and connections, they might escape justice entirely. But if I could get them to confess on tape, capture them discussing Maya's murder and the cover-up, the case would be airtight. I would have to go deeper into the lion's den. I would have to become what they thought I was, a naive, grieving woman desperate for love and security. I would have to make them comfortable enough to speak freely. It was insane. It was dangerous. It was exactly what Maya would have done. "Okay," I whispered to the empty apartment, touching Maya's photo on my phone screen. "Okay, I'll finish this." The next morning, I woke up to 17 missed calls from Damien and a text. "Where are you? Mother is asking about the seating arrangements for tonight's family dinner. Call me." Tonight's dinner. I had forgotten. Victoria was hosting an intimate gathering at the Blackwood estate in Westchester, just family and a few close associates. It was perfect. Smaller crowd, more casual atmosphere, people comfortable enough to spook openly. I texted back, "Sorry, phone died. On my way soon. Can't wait for tonight." I spent the morning researching surveillance equipment online, finally settling on a device disguised as a locket, professional quality audio recording with a wireless transmitter range of 500 feet. I paid extra for same-day delivery. By 3 p.m., I was standing in front of my mirror practicing my performance. Smile, laugh, act oblivious. Channel every acting skill I had accumulated through years of gallery presentations. The locket arrived at 4 p.m. I tested it twice, verified the recording quality, and slipped it around my neck. At 6 p.m., I arrived at the Blackwood estate. The mansion loomed against the darkening sky, 30 rooms of Gothic architecture and carefully curated intimidation. A butler I didn't recognize opened the door. "Sister, she's flown in from London specifically for the engagement party." Cassandra studied me with cold green eyes. She was petite, blonde, expensively dressed. According to Maya's files, she was the family's corporate strategist, the one who had threatened Maya before her death. "Lovely to finally meet you," Cassandra said, her accent posh and cutting. "Damien has told me so much. You're an art curator?" "Yes, at the Friedman Gallery downtown." "How quaint. I suppose someone has to appreciate pretty pictures." She sipped her martini. "Though I imagine you'll give up working once you're married. The Blackwood name requires certain commitments." "Cassandra," Damien warned, crossing to hand me a glass of wine. "Be nice." "I am being nice, brother dear. I'm just clarifying expectations." She turned back to me. "You understand you'll be expected to support Damien's business interests, attend charity functions, interface with the right people, maintain appropriate appearances?" "Of course," I said, smiling. "I want to support Damien however I can." "Good," Victoria settled back into her chair. "Because the merger with Harrison's company requires absolute solidarity. No scandals, no embarrassments, no complications." "Uncle Harrison is excited about the partnership," I offered, though my uncle had actually expressed reservations about Blackwood Pharmaceuticals' ethics during our last conversation. "I'm sure he is," Victoria said smoothly. "It's a tremendously lucrative opportunity for everyone involved. $30 billion in combined market value, unprecedented distribution capacity, complete dominance in 3 therapeutic categories." "Mother loves to talk business," Damien laughed, sitting beside me. "Let's discuss something more pleasant. Claire, I was thinking for our honeymoon."
Actually, there's a small matter we need to address before Monday's contract signing. The room's energy shifted. I felt Cassandra's attention sharpen, saw Damien's jaw tighten. What matter? I asked, keeping my voice light and curious.
Victoria set down her glass with deliberate precision. Your sister's apartment. We need access to it. My blood went cold, but I maintained my expression of mild confusion. Maya's apartment? Why? She had borrowed some corporate documents, Victoria said, her tone suggesting this was perfectly normal. Research materials for an article she was writing about pharmaceutical innovation. With her tragic passing, those documents were never returned. We simply need to collect our property. This was it. They were still looking for the evidence. I donated most of her things months ago, I said. The landlord cleared out the apartment. I kept some personal items, photos, jewelry, her favorite books, but I don't remember any work documents. Nevertheless, Cassandra interjected, we'd like to verify. Could you provide access, perhaps this weekend? They were testing me, watching for any sign I knew more than I should. Of course, I said easily, though I don't have keys anymore. The lease ended 8 months ago. Victoria and Cassandra exchanged a glance. I saw frustration flash across Cassandra's face. What about digital files? Victoria pressed. Did Maya keep a computer, external drives, cloud storage? She had a laptop that I donated to a journalism school. I lied smoothly, a story I had prepared. I didn't know her passwords, so I couldn't access anything. Her phone was damaged in the accident. Everything digital was lost. Another glance between mother and daughter. Relief this time. Well, said Victoria, her smile returning, that's unfortunate, but not unexpected. Maya always was disorganized with her technology. Maya had been obsessively organized, but they needed to believe the evidence was gone. Dinner was served in the formal dining room, 8 courses of pretentious cuisine I barely tasted. The conversation flowed around me, market projections, merger timelines, political connections that would smooth regulatory approval. Then, Cassandra, on her 4th glass of wine, made a fatal mistake. Remember Natasha? She said suddenly, looking at Damien. God, she was such a headache, constantly asking questions about the accounting, threatening to go to the SEC. Cassandra. Victoria's voice was sharp as a blade. What? Claire's family now. She should know we don't tolerate disloyalty. Cassandra waved her glass carelessly. Natasha learned that lesson the hard way. The room went silent. Damien's face had gone pale. What happened to Natasha? I asked, my voice small and uncertain, a woman sensing something wrong but too timid to press. Car accident, Damien said quickly. Terrible tragedy. Black ice, lost control on Route 9. In July, Cassandra laughed. Very unfortunate black ice in July. That's enough, Victoria snapped. You're drunk. I'm honest, Cassandra shot back. Unlike the rest of this family, pretending we're something we're not. We do what's necessary. We protect our interests. That's how empires survive. Cassandra, upstairs now. Victoria's voice could have frozen water. Cassandra stood unsteadily, but her eyes were sharp when they focused on me. Welcome to the family, Claire. I hope you're smarter than the last one. Damien really should stop dating women who ask too many questions. It's becoming a pattern. She left, her heels clicking against marble. The silence she left behind was suffocating. I apologize, Victoria said, her composure fractured at the edges. Cassandra has had a difficult week. She doesn't handle stress well. It's fine, I whispered, playing the confused, slightly frightened fiancé. I don't understand what she meant, though. About Natasha asking questions? Natasha was troubled, Damien said, taking my hand. She had emotional problems, made accusations that weren't true. The car accident was just that, an accident. Cassandra is implying things that didn't happen. I wanted to scream that I knew he was lying, that I knew about Sophie Chen, about Maya, about the pattern of dead women in his wake. Instead, I squeezed his hand and nodded. Of course, I didn't mean to pry. You're not prying, sweetheart. You're family. He kissed my forehead, and family protects family. The irony burned like acid. Victoria stood, smoothing her dress. I think we should call it a night. Monday is crucial. We need everyone rested and focused. As Damien walked me to my car, he was quiet. When we reached the driveway, he turned to me. What Cassandra said tonight? Forget it, I interrupted. She was drunk. Everyone says things they don't mean when they're drunk. Relief flooded his face. You're incredible, so understanding. I'm so lucky I found you. Found me, like I was an object he had discovered and claimed. I'm the lucky one, I lied, letting him kiss me goodnight. I drove 3 blocks before pulling over and vomiting in a trash can. The horror of it, sitting at their table, pretending to be in love with a murderer, smiling at the woman who ordered my sister killed, crashed over me in waves. But I had gotten what I needed. Cassandra's drunken confession was recorded. Victoria and Damien's responses were recorded. It wasn't a complete admission, but it was damning enough when combined with Maya's evidence. I drove to a 24-hour copy center and made 5 copies of the USB contents, storing them in different locations. Then I went to a cheap motel and checked in under a fake name. At 3 a.m., I finally called the FBI tip line. I have evidence of corporate murder, multiple homicides covered up by Blackwood Pharmaceuticals. I need witness protection, and I need it now. Special Agent Rebecca Torres arrived at the motel at 6 a.m. with 2 other agents. I spent 4 hours walking them through everything: Maya's investigation, the contaminated drugs, the murdered women, the recorded conversations from last night. This is significant, Torres said, reviewing Maya's files, but we need more. We need them to explicitly confess to murder on tape. What you have now is suspicious, incriminating, but a good lawyer could argue it's all circumstantial or misinterpreted.
The engagement party, I said. It's tomorrow night at the Fairmont. Huge crowd, high pressure, alcohol flowing. Victoria will want everything perfect. If I can get her alone, make her think I'm suspicious but manageable, she might say something definitive. Torres studied me. That's extremely dangerous. If they suspect you're working with us, they won't. They think I'm a grief-stricken orphan desperate for family. They think they've won. I met her eyes. My sister died getting this evidence. 42 children died because of their greed. I'm finishing this. We spent the rest of the day preparing. Torres had me fitted with a professional recording device disguised as the locket I had bought. They briefed me on what to say, how to prompt confessions, emergency extraction protocols. If at any point you feel unsafe, Torres emphasized, touch your left earring twice. We'll have agents inside the party. We'll extract you immediately. I understand. Claire, Torres gripped my shoulder. These people are killers. Don't underestimate them. I won't, I promised. But they underestimate me. That's my advantage. Now, standing in the Fairmont ballroom with hundreds of oblivious guests celebrating my engagement to a murderer, I was ready. I excused myself from Damien, claiming I needed the restroom. Instead, I made my way toward Victoria, who stood near the terrace doors speaking with several pharmaceutical executives. As I approached, she dismissed them with practiced efficiency.
Claire, darling, are you enjoying yourself? It's overwhelming, I said, adding a slight tremble to my voice. Victoria, could we talk privately just for a moment? Concern flickered across her face, the first genuine emotion I had seen. Of course, let's step outside. The terrace overlooked the city, fairy lights strung between marble columns. We were alone except for the FBI agents I knew were positioned in the shadows. What's troubling you, dear? I took a breath, committing to the performance. Last night, what Cassandra said about Natasha, it's been bothering me. And I found something in Maya's things that I didn't understand. Victoria went very still. What did you find? Notes about Blackwood Pharmaceuticals, about contaminated medication and children who died. I watched her face carefully. Maya wrote that you confronted you about it before she died, that you offered her money. The mask slipped. For just a moment, I saw the predator beneath the polish. Your sister was mentally unwell, Victoria said, her voice dropping to something cold and dangerous. She became obsessed with conspiracy theories, making accusations with no basis in reality. I tried to help her, offered to pay for psychiatric care. She refused. So there's no truth to any of it? No contaminated drugs? No children who died? Of course not. We run a pharmaceutical company, Claire. We save lives. Maya couldn't accept that. She wanted a scandal where none existed. Then why did she die 3 days after confronting you?
You can accept reality, become part of this family, enjoy the wealth and security that comes with it, and never speak of this conversation again. Your uncle signs the merger papers Monday, you marry Damien in 3 months, and everyone benefits. Or, I whispered, or you become another problem that needs handling, another tragic accident, perhaps a mugging gone wrong, or a fall from your apartment balcony. Very similar to your sister's fate, actually. Cassandra is quite skilled at staging these things. I saw my death in her eyes. She meant every word. I want to be part of the family, I said, my voice barely audible. I won't say anything. I needed to know the truth. Victoria studied me for another excruciating moment. Then she nodded. Smart girl. Smarter than Maya, at least. You understand pragmatism. She patted my cheek like I was a child. Now, fix your makeup and return to the party. Damien is probably wondering where you are. And Claire, if you breathe a word of this conversation to anyone, your uncle, a journalist, the authorities, I'll know, and you'll join your sister.
She walked back into the ballroom, leaving me alone on the terrace. I touched my locket with shaking hands, whispering, "Did you get that?" The FBI had gotten every word. Agent Torres and 6 other agents entered the ballroom 3 minutes later. I watched from the terrace as they approached Victoria near the champagne fountain. Her face went from confusion to horror to cold rage as Torres displayed the arrest warrant. Victoria Blackwood, you're under arrest for conspiracy to commit murder, obstruction of justice, and corporate manslaughter. The ballroom erupted in chaos. Guests scattered, security moved forward. Damien pushed through the crowd toward his mother, his face a mask of panic. Cassandra tried to run. She made it to the service entrance before 2 agents tackled her. More agents entered, moving with precision. Damien Blackwood, you're under arrest as an accessory to murder. I watched Damien struggle as they cuffed him, still not understanding how his world had collapsed. Then his eyes found mine across the ballroom. Understanding flooded his face. Betrayal, rage, disbelief. You, he mouthed. You did this. I walked back into the ballroom and approached him. I finished what Maya started, I said clearly, for her, for Natasha, for Sophie Chen, for 42 children whose lives mattered more than your profit margins. You'll regret this, he hissed, as agents pulled him away. We have lawyers, we have connections. You've accomplished nothing. I've accomplished everything, I said. Maya left me all the evidence. She planned for this, and now the whole world knows what monsters you are. Agent Torres approached me as the Blackwoods were led away. Claire, you did it. We have everything we need. I nodded, unable to speak. The relief was overwhelming, mixed with grief, trauma, and the hollow knowledge of what I had done. What happens now? I asked. Now they face justice. Federal prosecutors are already reviewing the evidence. With your testimony and the recordings, they'll spend the rest of their lives in prison. And the victims' families? They'll finally have answers. Your sister's investigation will be published. Those children will be remembered. I looked around the ballroom. Abandoned champagne glasses, scattered rose petals, the detritus of a celebration that had become a crime scene. Can I go home? We'll need a full deposition tomorrow, but yes, you're safe now. I drove back to my apartment as dawn broke over the city. My phone had 63 messages, shocked friends, horrified colleagues, journalists requesting interviews. I turned it off. Maya's photo was still on my bedside table, her confident smile, her fearless eyes. I picked it up. I finished it, I told her. They'll pay for what they did to you, to all of you. I imagined I could hear her voice. You were always stronger than you believed, Claire. I'm proud of you. The Blackwood trial became the legal sensation of the decade. Victoria was sentenced to life without parole for 3 counts of first-degree murder and 42 counts of corporate manslaughter. Damien, who cooperated and testified against his family, received 15 years as an accessory. Blackwood Pharmaceuticals dissolved in bankruptcy. Their assets were liquidated, with proceeds going to victims' families. Maya's investigation was published posthumously and won the Pulitzer Prize. I accepted the award on her behalf, standing in front of cameras, telling her story. Uncle Harrison established a foundation in Maya's name, supporting investigative journalism and advocating for pharmaceutical industry reform. As for me, I left the art world. I went to law school, specializing in corporate accountability and whistleblower protection. I wanted to help other Mayas, give them tools to expose corruption without sacrificing their lives. On the anniversary of Maya's death, I visit her grave with fresh flowers and a copy of her published investigation. You taught me that courage isn't the absence of fear, it's doing what's right despite the fear. You taught me that truth matters more than comfort, that justice is worth any personal cost. The wind rustles through the trees, and I imagine it's Maya's voice. Keep fighting, little sister. Make them remember. We're not victims, we're warriors. And that's exactly what I do, every single day. If this story resonated with you, please hit that like button and subscribe. Share your thoughts in the comments. Have you ever discovered a devastating truth that changed everything? How did you handle it? Let's keep the conversation going. Remember, speaking truth to power isn't easy, but it's always necessary. Stay strong, stay vigilant, and never stop fighting for justice. Until next time, this is Claire Chen, reminding you that the truth always finds its way to light. We just have to be brave enough to illuminate the darkness.